There is no doubt that Al-Aqsa Mosque is on the verge of danger because of plans, practices, behaviors, daily attacks. The disaster is about to take place.
I believe that the Temple Mount is a place for the Jewish people, and it is a holy place for the Jewish people. Muslims who oppose the prayer of the Jews at the Temple Mount surprise me.
It is clear that one day Muslims will be asked to dismantle the Dome of the Rock and put it anywhere else they want. And in its place, we will build the temple. Everything has its own time that begins to reach its final stage. So is the issue of the return of the people of Israel to the Temple of the Mount. It will be realized sooner or later.
The idea of the temple was not a central idea that came with the emergence of the Zionist state and the Zionist movement as rumored. Herzl's talk about the idea of Jerusalem, or the importance of Jerusalem, was to try to gather all the Jews of the world of the Zionist idea, including religious Jews who revolve around the religious dimension of Judaism, and not the national dimension of Judaism.
Israeli politicians were keen not to show that the conflict is an ideological conflict or a religious conflict. However, with the development of events and with what is happening in the Arab world and Israel's sense that it is in a comfortable position to coordinate its religious convictions with the presence of a clear right-wing division in the Israeli society, these voices exceed in order to get out the plans from the lockers and strive to implement them. And this is what is happening now, in the current stage.
There are associations that declare that they want to build the Temple Mount instead of Al-Aqsa Mosque. In the past, Israeli society has called them obsessed, and gradually they became more and more accepted to the ruling party.
وأصبحوا أكثر وأكثر تدريجياً جزء مقبول من الحزب الحاكم. صار من يعترض عليهم.
Anyone who objects them is a traitor to Israel or is obsessed.
أو إنه هو المهووس.
We are talking about dreamers who want to develop plans only. We should not occupy the whole world for such people. Masters, we cannot manage the world according to a number of obsessed.
I think I have succeeded. I feel successful. I feel that people want to hear me strongly, and they are very eager to hear about the Temple Mount. I feel that the Temple Mount has become the main theme in dialogues over time in everyday life. There are senior journalists within the Israeli establishment who call and charge the Jewish community for the temple and the importance of the temple, and create a general atmosphere for its construction. What distinguishes these groups is that in the past, they were actually groups and associations. Now, they are the arms of the parties that are inside, not the parliament, but inside the state cabinet. Here is the danger. Talking about the groups, Netanyahu and previous governments were always saying that these are just groups. They are a group of settlers Now, these are Netanyahu's ministers.
الآن هؤلاء هم وزراء نتنياهو.
They take the central decision. They are the mainstream. They are part of the consensus. Racism has become mainstream. They have now 7 ministerial seats and have 28% of the seats in the government, which means they have a quarter of the seats of the government, although the real size within parliament does not exceed 11%. As we have seen, these groups have reached a significant number within the Israeli Knesset, and even within the Israeli government, and now constitute a pressure force in the decisions of the Israeli government.
في قرارات الحكومة الإسرائيلية.
Working for the Prime Minister is not an easy work, but it's very difficult. I go back to repeat that the Prime Minister is a politician, so his brain is divided into 2 parts, half wondering what to do for the people, the other half is thinking how to stay in his position. So when there is a majority among the people of Israel who want to pray here, then half of the brain occupied with how to stay in his position will be interested in thinking about how the Jews can arrive here. So we are now working on the people to understand that this is the sacred place and that they have to come here. The majority of the people and the tens of millions of Jews would then pray at the Temple Mount instead of praying at the wall of Al-Buraq. Then the situation would be completely different.
When the Jewish Party as a right-wing party discovered that the expressions of the temple were popular and gaining popularity, they began to include the activists of the temple to their party. So they would not go to the Jewish house, and the Jewish House Party would not grow at their expense. Then Netanyahu began to absorb some young activists from this trend to maintain the Likud's survival, and therefore the Likud went to the right more, so they could face the rest of the right-wing parties that were created to snatch from him the leadership of government.
قيادة الحكومة.
What drew my attention is that the entire Israeli political spectrum, from Perez from the left and even Lieberman from the right, all unanimously agreed on the right of Jews to pray in Al-Aqsa Mosque. In other words, the religious right of Jews inside the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque.
This government is the most extreme in Israeli history for decades. I say that it is so extreme to the extent that the most moderate in it is Netanyahu. These groups started moving from the margin to get closer to the center. They began to take shape by political movements in the early 80s. Perhaps the first political movement was the movement Kach, led by Meir Kahane. Meir Kahane managed to get 1 seat in the Knesset in 1984, which was taken by Meir Kahane himself. And in 1988, a special law was issued to prevent him from entering the Knesset again. And the Zionist court ruled that he could not return to the Knesset.
We are now in 1987. After 20 years of that day, I ask myself, is the Temple Mount in our hands? If 6 Knesset members in the Knesset of Israel want to come to tour the Temple Mount, they require 800 security men to guard them. Is the Temple Mount in our hands? Or are we looking forward to such a quds? This was not the dream to return to Zion, on the Mount Temple and the Mount Zion.
This is the development toward the right in the Israeli society of the Israeli government. The Israeli government feeds the right-wing street, and the right-wing street feeds the government. The competition here is the Knesset, who is more hateful, who proposes more crazy proposals regarding Arabs, Palestinians, Jerusalem, and Al-Quds. This is the door to competition.
هذا هو باب التنفس.
If we wanted to speak up, in 2003, they took 2 seats in the Knesset. In 2006, they took 3 seats in the Knesset. In 2009, they took 7 seats in the Knesset. In 2013, they took 13 seats. In the 2015 elections, they took 13 seats, but the symbolic movement which Netanyahu did, after an assassination attempt on Yehud Glick, enabled him to enter the Knesset in 2016 after the resignation of the Minister of War. Then they became 14.
It is growing steadily in all circles, and not only among the religious circles. There are also national religious people, and there are freedom fighters who ascend to the Temple Mount. There are also secularists who are aware of the discrimination there.
بكفي إنه نتنياهو في سدة الحكم.
It's enough that Netanyahu is in this government. This is the difficulty. This is a big thing. This is dangerous for the region. His right-wing rival, Bennett, will be more in the right and will be extreme.
اللي سيكون أكثر يمينية وأكثر تطرفاً.
There are many individuals and agencies who wish to work towards moving forward on the Temple Mount topic. We have come to the conclusion that our union is the best, and the union always leads to better results.
In the beginning, in fact, the idea of building the structure that was led by the coalition of the institutions of the structure of 2013 was the most supported by the government, of course. And they began with about 19 associations and institutions, and now they've reached 26 institutions.
Yes, I want to change the present situation, and I do not see anything wrong with that. I am doing whatever I do. I only do legally. I speak and talk. I go to court. I go to politics. I go to meet with different rabbis. I go to different public activities. What I do is one of the most legitimate things in a democratic country.
Legitimate thing in a democratic country.
منذ الانتفاضة في العام 2000 بعد اقتحام شارون.
Since the Intifada in 2000, after Sharon intruded Al-Aqsa Mosque, and after the beginning of the Second Intifada, the entry of the Jew into Al-Aqsa Mosque has not yet begun. After 2005, these intrusions began because in recent years they have begun to have a religious character. In other words, it is not just the entry of the Jew to the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque, but this entry is in order to prove their right in Al-Aqsa Mosque. And here is the danger.
وهنا مكمن الخطأ.
In 2010, they filed a case in which they asked to offer offerings at Al-Aqsa Mosque. The answer came from the court after consulting with the Israeli police that this could not be protected, and the case was not answered. During 2012, during the attempt to return to the courts, a new point of view came within the organizations calling for an end to the attempt to reinterpret the law and to adapt a new law. And in August in 2012, a new draft law was already introduced for direct official sharing of the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque. This topic, by this temporal division of Al-Aqsa Mosque so that there are specific hours for the Jews to enter Al-Aqsa Mosque where there are no Muslims, and other hours there are Muslims so that there are no Jews. And by the division of holidays and Islamic holidays where the Jews do not enter, and Jewish holidays where Muslims do not enter, they want to impose a fait accompli that they can make an alleged right for Jews equal to the right of Muslims in Al-Aqsa Mosque.
يساوي حق المسلمين في المسجد الأقصى.
أولاً هذه الجلسات المتكررة.
First, these repeated meetings in the internal committee and just raising the issue of the temporal and spatial division initiated by the Chief of the Interior, Miri Riv, who is today the Minister of Culture and Sports.
كانت كل شهر تعمل جلستين.
Each month, she'd work 2 sessions introduced to the media, she and Yehuda Glick at the meeting as well as the trustees of the Temple Mount and all the extremists and obsessed in the Knesset in front of the screen.
أمام الشاشات.
They participate in sessions, suggest their proposals in the presence of police and police officers and the police chief of Jerusalem, to pressure him to change the status and to say that these are the homeowners and we are the guests or invaders.
وإحنا ضيوف أو غزاة.
The suggestion I made at the time was that as long as there was friction in this place between 2 different population groups, I do not have a problem with all groups praying together, but Muslims see it as problematic. A subcommittee was set up to face the problem of ascending to the Temple Mount. The committee made its recommendations. A number of recommendations were adopted, and the police approved some of them. Things take time to realize. Sometimes the police do things that appeal to me, and sometimes they do not. They do their job, and I do mine. Former Inspector General of Police, which is called Danino, had a very important statement in 2014, in which he called the Jews to storm the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Is there a legal text officially certified to say this? No, but the drafting of the law is now presenting the work plan. It is therefore no longer necessary to officially adopt this law or not, as long as it will go to application. They were closing the gates of Al-Aqsa Mosque from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. and forbidding Muslims to enter, and only the Jews were allowed with the protection of the police. Netanyahu said they were lying while we were living in Al-Aqsa Mosque. Every day we saw.
يوميا كنا نرى ذلك.
Personally, I try to climb whenever I can because of my involvement with work concerns. I go up every 2 weeks or once a month to be connected with the place. But they do not allow us to pray in the place, not even to move our lips. The situation is simply very sad. Whenever I go onto the Temple Mount, the first moment I go there, I feel that I'm representing thousands of years of Jewish people who were waiting for the privilege to go to the Temple Mount. And I feel that I am blessed to live in this area.
Live in this era.
Before 2013, an Israeli soldier was forbidden to enter with his military uniform inside the Aqsa Mosque for fear of provocation. After 2013, when a joint session of the deputies with some ministers, with the Speaker of the Knesset, with the leader of the police and the army, it is now possible for those to enter with uniforms, and the army rabbis have adopted a program of 2 days a week in which the soldiers come to visit Al-Aqsa Mosque and get to know it as part of the land of Israel and get to know the Temple Mount, which has become a building block in the Israeli military doctrine of the Israeli army.
العسكرية الإسرائيلية للجيش الإسرائيلي.
وأنا أذكر أنه
I recall that even 3 years ago, in Ramadan, there was no intrusion into Al-Aqsa Mosque at all. 3 years ago, entering and storming into the mosque, even in Ramadan, was in direct contact with the beliefs of Muslims being in Al-Aqsa and in Ramadan.
هناك وزراء
There were ministers who belonged to the Israeli government at the previous session who said that we were not able to pray in the Abrahamic Mosque in Hebron. To arrive at a situation to divide it between Jews and Muslims without the massacre committed by the criminal Baruch Goldstein.
التي قام بها المجرم باروخ جولدشتين.
It seems that we will not be able to reach a stage where it is divided only in the same way.
إلا بنفس الطريقة.
לצערנו,
Unfortunately, in order to reach an agreement whereby Jews and Muslims can pray inside the cave of the patriarchs, a person must come and do a terrorist act. I strongly hope that the mind will prevail in the case of the Temple Mount, and to succeed in reaching such a thing without having to resort to terrorism.
ולא נצטרך טרור.
For example, there are currently about 10 million visits by the Jews of the Barak Wall each year. We simply want to replace things. These visits must be directed towards the Temple Mount, towards the holy place. We have to understand that the place is at the top and not at the bottom.
המקום הקדוש הוא למעלה, לא למטה.
Saying the words Temple
When
Mount.
the phrase Temple Mount is uttered, a natural hill with a temple or temple remains will come to our mind.
But what we can see today is
All we can see here today has been built in succession throughout history. So what we're going to do now is remove all of these layers and put this object.
with the help of this model.
בעזרת השם נהיה שם בית מקדש.
In the will of God, there will be a holy house, the temple, according to our tradition. The height will be twice as high as the Dome of the Rock. So the temple will be about 17 stories high. Its width from north to south is about 70 meters. Its length from the west to the east is about 160 meters. Of course, the more you move towards the center, the more sacred the places become. There are places where Jews can enter.
יש מקומות שהיהודי יכול להיכנס.
We have a temple institute, which is equipped with those tools. I do not know if there will be the same old tools, but God willing, there will be, so that we can use it or they can be models. But certainly there will be a candlestick and a dish to wash the feet. hands, and the altar, and incense. Various tools including priests' clothing and levities are all in the processing stage. There are women who are weaving carpets, there are many hopes that are taking place today, and the interest is great today. It is clear that at some point we will reach a situation in which Muslims will be asked to dismantle the Dome of the Rock and place it anywhere else they want. And in its place, we will build the temple.
In this room there's an echo.
In this room there is an echo. The excavation continues. When we leave here to the western wall of Burak, they are digging and digging all the time, and always to this bottom level. See, this is bedrock. They dig until they reach bedrock. The excavations are being carried out to reach those rocks starting 5 years ago maybe. If we go straight ahead, we will be under the Temple Mount, and in order not to enter the Temple Mount, they have created this detour road here. I'll show you exactly that. Here you'll see a map showing you everything. Look, this is the Temple Mount. We came from here, and here lies Al-Aqsa, and we are now located exactly in this corner, and we'll walk a bit to get out of here.
I am angry with these instigators in the first place. I am angry with those who spread lies, incite, and say that there are fossils under the Temple Mount. I am angry and angry with those. The idea of spatial division came to light in 2004 and with what is known as the structural plan of the city of Jerusalem, or the urban plan of Jerusalem as seen by the Zionist circles, where the reference was limited to the Islamic Western Holy Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, while the entire area of the mosque remaining 144,000 meters was considered as a historical area packed with visitors only and does not carry any kind of religious significance. This means that it is open to development and change from the point of view of the one who issued this resolution. The truth is, the Israeli entity's efforts since its occupation of East Jerusalem in 1967 has been to excavate around Al-Aqsa Mosque and under Al-Aqsa Mosque so that it will find evidence that makes them legitimate in this land and in this place. But all of their attempts failed. In addition to the excavation, we saw that he built a ruined synagogue within a group of synagogues now around Al-Aqsa Mosque, south of Al-Aqsa Mosque, west of Al-Aqsa Mosque, and in the Old City.
By our conviction, we Muslims are the right owners of the underground to the seventh earth, and above the earth to the seventh heaven. All of Al-Aqsa Mosque and its soil, and every grain of soil, is the right of Muslims alone.
In the past several years,
The last several years, almost every person who goes to the Temple Mount witnesses harassment, incitement, hate. I personally was attacked many times. I am happy now because in the last 3 months, the Israeli government has outlawed these organizations.
If we object, they say extremist instigators, etc. We came to this situation that a week ago, Yehuda Glick was allowed to storm Al-Aqsa Mosque and to a Muslim deputy enter it, and I, Ahmed, forbidden to enter on the instructions of Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli police.
Wait a moment. This is the officer in charge here.
I am a member of parliament and I want to enter.
I know you are a member of parliament, and wait until I get an approval.
The Mufti and the head of the endowment is with me. They want to pray at Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Is it permissible to enter the TBMP and a group with him to the Al-Aqsa? I'm stopping him from entering now.
What you're doing is illegal.
I do not allow him to pass under any circumstances.
This is not your prerogative at all. No one has the right to prevent Muslims from entering. Will you prevent us from entering Al-Aqsa Mosque by force? I mean, to what extent can the occupation go? The Muslim is forbidden to enter. The ultra-Jewish obsessed who originally ignites a fire in this area is allowed to enter and protected by the occupation. Minister of Agriculture Uri Ariel stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque several times. Hoteveli, Deputy Foreign Minister, stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque several times, and the two, Uri Ariel and Hoteveli, spoke about building the structure.
Usually, they ask us to come to the offices of intelligence. Some of their faces are familiar, and they ask us and we respond. It is good that you came to hear us. The commander of the Jerusalem Police Brigade, and his face is also present among us. We tell them, this blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque is for us and only ours. Either speaking in slang Arabic or classical Arabic. If you want to kill 350,000 from Jerusalem, good. If you want to kill 1.5 million Palestinians of 1948, good. If you want to kill 13 million Palestinians, you will get them, good. If you launch a nuclear bomb on 400 million Arabs, good. 1.5 billion Muslims will pursue you to the doomsday.
نعم أنا منذ
I am forbidden to enter Al-Aqsa Mosque from the 25th of November 2014. We cannot compare this day, in fact, to someone away from Al-Aqsa since 2007. I proudly say that my brother Sheikh Salah has been away since 2007 and is not allowed to enter the Holy Mosque. This is an honor we cherish. I am happy that yesterday, one of the heads of incitement and chaos was finally sentenced to prison. I mean Sheikh Ra'ed Salah, who will be in prison next month. This is what must happen. Those who incite violence must stay in prison.
The occupation tries through time to get rid of anyone trying to put a limit or bump in front of this project, so he bought the idea of Rabat out of law. Institutions that supported the idea of Rabat have been removed from the law, and even all the Islamic movements in the occupied territories in 1948 have been removed out of law, because he wants to create the arena for the idea of applying temporal partition and then spatial division in any way.
What is important now is that to get to a situation in the world where every human being would be able to go up to the Temple of the Mount to pray without being forbidden because of his belief, we are currently living in a situation like this. We seek it, and we are working to achieve it, and we will not give up our right to pray.
The Temple Mount is the holiest place for the Jewish people. In order to ascend it, we must be cleansed of impurity. We must be cleansed by the ashes of a red cow. The ashes of a red cow can only be ours when the time of salvation comes. This does not currently exist. So we pray and appeal to the Creator, then salvation will come to us. And when Christ the Savior comes and when we are purified, then we will be able to climb to the temple. As long as it did not happen, we cannot climb. There are rabbis who say that it is impossible to know exactly where the temple is located. That is why the place is still considered a sacred place. If I do not know where the temple is, there is a problem. It is forbidden to go up because I do not know where it is. This is what some clerics say.
I was like the rest of the Israeli people. I thought it is forbidden. We heard from some rabbis that it was forbidden to go up to the Temple Mount. But at some point, I realized that it was not true. Unfortunately, I say with regret that the rabbinate is not an independent body as it tries to keep up with a political line. But according to the legislation, it is not a taboo, but it is a commandment to go up to the Temple Mount.
זה מצווה לעלות להר הבית.
Now, there are groups that choose to focus only on the idea of Jewish nationalism and to leave the religious content of this religion. They consider the religious content as an enrichment to the national culture. This can be called the National Zionist political spectrum. In contrast, on the other side, there were those who believed that Judaism is essentially a religion and its ideological beliefs and legitimate statements must be followed. Between these two lines arose a spectrum that believes the dual nature or tries to find a vision to reconcile them. This is what we call the Zionist nationalist religious movements. They are basically movements that adopt the nationalist nature of the Jewish religion. They directly adopt the theory in involving the Lord, in the sense that we will not do these events so that the Lord may establish this temple for us. That is, there is an overlap between political performance and religious beliefs. It did not even exist with Sharon.
We must understand that building a temple is a work that is done by us, and at the same time with the help of heaven. Of course, it will be a miracle because the third temple will be eternal. We believe that God willing, there will be more Jews willing to go up. It is normal that the police changes as well as the Prime Minister's views. He wants to be elected, does he not? If all the people want to pray there, then he will also be with that desire. So it is important for the people to reach such a situation, and we are working to achieve that.
My personal and legitimate view is against ascending to the Temple Mount. My political opinion is that Muslims should allow the Jews to pray in the Temple Mount.
תפילה של יהודים בהר הבית.
What we see here is Palestine. This is Palestine. We see Arabs and Arabs here. What will be here 10 years from now? How many Arabs will be here after 10 years? In 1967, we had an opportunity. We liberated the city and we were able to take them all, since they were expecting the displacement, not the massacre. Outside, outside, go out, and we did not do it. We have sinned, and we have wept for generations. The place of the Jews is here. This is the city of the Jews. It is our capital, and the Jews are afraid to come here.
So the vision arose that what happened in 1967 was a historical mistake, the return of Al-Aqsa Mosque. Giving back Al-Aqsa Mosque administration to the Jordanian Awqaf and considering it as an Islamic holy site from the point of view of the current government and from the point of view of the Zionist political currently dominating spectrum was a historical mistake because it sanctified the religious sanctuary that they regard as a Jewish holy site and merely holy to Muslims.
Another party says that the situation is now a very appropriate circumstance for the establishment of the temple.
المناسب جدا لإقامة الهيكل.
هؤلاء بس يمروا في أرض.
Those are going through the alleys of Jerusalem, which are filled with the occupation police, and they spit on people, provoke women and Palestinian homeowners under the eye of the control of the occupation police.
عين ومراقبة شرطة
And the
الاحتلال.
one who responds is assaulted, the Palestinian who defends himself, and not this extremist Jew who attacks people.
هذا اليهودي المتطرف الذي يتهجم على الناس. إغلاق بوابات المسجد الأقصى في
The closure of the gates of the Al-Aqsa Mosque in September was stopped because of this Palestinian anger and because of people willing to sacrifice their lives for Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu knows this. This event itself, this part of the topic, Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, may ignite the entire region.
قد تشعل المنطقة عنا.
If the Israeli people say that the Israeli people has no value without the land of Zion, there is no value to the land of Zion without Jerusalem, and no value to Jerusalem without the temple. And what do we say? What value do we have without Jerusalem, and what value do we have without the Al-Aqsa Mosque?
أنا بغير المسجد الأقصى المبارك.
المجتمع
The
الفلسطيني
Palestinian society has been confronting since 1917 until these moments. And the Palestinian community still raises the flag of the Arab Islamic Palestinian Al-Aqsa Mosque. The identity of Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Arab Islamic Palestinian.
العربية الإسلامية الفلسطينية. ولم تسقط هذه الراية.
This flag will not fall, despite all the circumstances that have passed.
وهو ما زال يتحمل.
He is still bearing and is still hungry, but he is holding fast. He is still being pursued, arrested, beaten, insulted, and strangled in his sources of livelihood,
يخنق في مصادر رزقه.
but is still stable and steadfast.
صامدا وثابتا.
المسجد الأقصى ليس مسجد.
Al-Aqsa Mosque is not an ordinary mosque. Al-Aqsa Mosque is part of the faith of the people. When this sanctuary is desecrated, Palestinians, especially those who find the Palestinian people who are in direct contact, especially people of Jerusalem, with what is happening at Al-Aqsa Mosque and with the occupant harassment.
تضييقات المحتل نجد أن هذا.
This mosque is the detonator of revolutions started by al-Buraq when Sharon's revolution in 1936 and in 2000 desecrated the squares of Al-Aqsa Mosque, and before in 1996 the problem of the tunnel. All these are taking place around Al-Aqsa Mosque.
يدور حول المسجد الأقصى.
وبالتالي
We notice that after time, the approach to Al-Aqsa Mosque has had a price, an expensive price. On the 30th of August, after the attempt to impose the complete closure and the complete temporal division of Al-Aqsa Mosque, the current wave of resistance, namely Al-Quds Intifada, is taking place. This reinstated the idea of the situation, albeit late.
نصابها وإن كانت متأخرة.
الدور المبارك.
The blessed role of the Murabitin has had a great impact on the Israeli streets' reluctance to come to the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque.
المسجد الأقصى المبارك. الدور المبارك.
The blessed role of the Murabitin, these women who have really raised the heads of the entire Islamic nation today.
كل الأمة الإسلامية اليوم عاليا. أنا يعني
I
قبل
mean, 2 weeks ago, I was told by a young man who had been apprehended that he heard one of the Jews who were intruding. They were 2 Jews who entered the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the side of the Al-Maghariba gate. And after they entered almost 100 meters, one of them says to the other, "Let's get out, let's get out. Look in their eyes, they will eat us." And actually, they took their case and left Al-Aqsa Mosque after entering only 100 meters.
قول فقط 100 متر.
نعتز أن
We are proud of our people from Galilee, who walk 200 kilometers every day, not in the normal morning. They go to the Fajr prayer at the Al-Aqsa Mosque and return.
الأقصى المبارك ويعودون ومنهم من
Some of them go in the afternoon in order to stay in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and some of them go in the evening in order to stay in the Blessed Aqsa Mosque. Now there is a popular situation inside the Palestinians to connect with the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
It is not a condition that Salah ad-Din is a person from Palestine. The Palestinian people are Salah ad-Din, the Jerusalemite Salah ad-Din, who are stationed at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. All of these thoughts that defend Al-Aqsa Mosque are right.
وهذا الفكر الصح. وفي النهاية
I said it from the Knesset platform, and in the end, Al-Aqsa Mosque is a place of, I say it everywhere, point and do what you desire, a place of prayer for the Muslims.
ارتبوا.
وهو فاهم
He understood that the Al-Aqsa Mosque is a red line. He understood that the Al-Aqsa Mosque is a barrel of powder, and that he is also playing with this barrel. At every moment, this barrel can ignite and explode, and the first explosion will explode in his face.
سينفجر بوجهه.
We are the mother of the child, and we are the owners of the
احنا
country.
أصحاب البلد.
وبالذي قلناه للإسرائيليين
And what we said to the Israelis, and will repeat tomorrow and today and every day, do not allow your boys to throw this stone in the well, because all your wise men will not be able to take it out with you. And Al-Aqsa Mosque is not only a red line, you will burn all the papers.
ستحرقون كل الأوراق أيها الإسرائيليون.
The Israelis are talking about the disaster that took place in the World War, but we did not cause it.
ألمت بكم لم نكن نحن سببا فيها.
But I tell you with my highest voice, the real catastrophe has not yet come, and it has not yet happened if you attack Al-Aqsa Mosque.
اعتداؤكم على المسجد الأقصى المبارك.
هناك من يريد أن
There are those who want to build the Temple Mount in the place of Al-Aqsa Mosque or in the courtyards of Al-Aqsa Mosque. But we will not allow, the Palestinian people will not allow it.
المسلمون هنا وفي العالم.
Muslims here in the world will not allow it. What will happen? I do not know if the nation did not maintain Al-Aqsa Mosque. If the nation does not stand behind the Palestinian people supporting all means of support, we cry for the Jerusalem International Foundation that the Aqsa Mosque is in real danger and in the crater of a volcano.
في خطر حقيقي وعلى فوهة بركان.
The nation is dead without Jerusalem. Then we must restore life and wellness, and this will only be by the return of Jerusalem and the blessed Aqsa Mosque.